Hey everybody, this is Jedd, and this is episode 89 of This Week in Grip. And it's very possible that in this episode, I say something along the lines of you not being able to chalk the Iron Mind implements, because this episode was actually recorded before I got corrected on that. So it is allowed to chalk most of the Iron Mind implements. What I encourage you to do is read the Iron Mind implement rules, the specific rule sets for each piece of equipment you might be training or competing on, so you know exactly what the rules are. If that shows up in the video, I'm sorry. I meant to actually go through this and verify that it wasn't, but I just simply have not had time to do it with it being tax season. So that's about it. I hope you enjoy the episode, and why don't you leave a comment below if you find that in there. All right? Thanks a lot, everybody. Enjoy the episode. This is 89. See ya.
Of This Week in Grip. Make sure you check out the Arnold recap that we did before. Go to the YouTube channel, check that out if you haven't already. This week, what are we talking about, Alan? What do we got for today's show?
We're going to be going through the latest rule change from Iron Mind regarding a chalking of implements.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting topic. I know that most people that have watched the videos and part of the grip board have put forth their opinions, so we welcome that again today. So hope you guys are doing real well. Alan, how's that arm doing today, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Things are moving along. So,
all right, that's good.
Back to normal pretty soon.
That's good. And James, I know that you've got an event-filled week coming up with lots of arm wrestling, right, big boy?
Oh, yes. And this past week was chock full of grip, so I'm gonna take a break from thick bar this week, because that tends to get in the way of arm wrestling a little bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of that and hopefully return to thick bar next week and hit a few PRs.
Cool, man. Cool. I want to remind everybody, take a moment to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy the show. That supports our podcast and helps present the video more times throughout the platform here at YouTube. So make sure to give it a thumbs up. And like I said earlier, we always welcome any feedback, any comments, so feel free to post below in the comments section. And, well, let's go ahead and start talking about this, guys. Alan, I know when the first time I saw the rule change talked about, but I'm curious, before we get into that, I'd like to know, Alan, when you first found out about the rule change, and then also, James, when you first found out about it, just out of curiosity's sake.
For me, this all popped up within like the last week or so on the grip board.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm not sure who it was that even, actually, I think it was Tommy Jennings, actually, that had posted about it in one of the threads. And I think, what is his name? He goes by Hub Geezer. Is Mike Corlett?
Yeah.
He had something indicated, too, that might have been in the NAGS discussion on the grip board even. That's when it started popping up, but I hadn't actually heard anything or even seen anything posted. I don't know that they made a formal announcement about it, more or less that just kind of the change took place.
Right. Okay.
So it was kind of, it seemed almost, I don't want to say secretive, but it wasn't announced, like how other things had been when maybe the records were rolled back and things like that.
Yeah.
This was a very subtle change, at least how I took it.
Gotcha. James, what was your introduction to this rule change?
It was kind of like Alan's, though I didn't see it on the grip board. I don't go on there that much, but it was on Facebook. I'd seen some grumblings, and then I saw Jerome Bloom's post kind of mocking it, basically saying, hey, here's a ridiculous hub lift that barely anyone in the world can do, and look Mom, I'm using chalk, basically.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I engaged a little repartee on there with him and with Rick Thorpe on there, and it was pretty funny stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll get into our opinions on the subject shortly, but that's how it was introduced to me. I hadn't even known that it was instituted prior to the Arnold.
Right, I did not. Okay, so I did not know what your guys' experience was, so I'm glad that we established that first. I'm going to tell you how I found out about this. I wanted to make sure that everything counted for the records for Pinch Block, Little Bighorn, and Silver Bullet for Cupid's Nightmare. So I had been emailing with Randall Strawson quite a bit throughout. I'm going to say the end of last year and beginning of this year, because my competition was on February 16th, Cupid's Nightmare. Right before the contest, like a couple days before the contest that week, he said, make sure you go over the rules so that so that everything's official. Print out a copy or something like that. So the night before the competition, I tried printing out the rules, and actually they came out in like hieroglyphics. For whatever reason, my printer wouldn't recognize the
Egyptian.
Yeah, it was all mumbo jumbo. So like because it printed out like that, I could not read the rules. So what I did was I went to the Iron Mind website and I emailed the links for the Silver Bullet and the Pinch Block to myself so that I could read them out loud the next day for the competition before we did each event. And I don't remember. So I know Cupid's Nightmare, we did a reading of the Silver Bullet and the Pinch Block. I don't remember if we did Little Bighorn, to be honest with you. I do not remember. But I remember reading and talking about the Pinch Block has to be cleaned in between each attempt. And I was like, if we clean that apparatus off, nobody is getting over like 65 pounds on that device. So the implement that I have is, as far as I know, I bought it from John McCarter. As far as I know, it's the one that he set the world record on several years ago. I bought it because it was already seasoned. It was already chalked, and the one that I had prior to that was like the old style, and it was slippery as grease goose shit. So I wanted to get that Pinch Block, so I paid for the Pinch Block, and it's had the same base of chalk on it and just added to it the whole time. And I was like, I'm not cleaning it. If I was like, I kind of made my own decision that if they don't accept these lifts because of that, that's fine. But I'm comparing my lifts and our lifts against what Harry Talonen did for the current world record, which there was chalk all over it. So for the life of me, I do not remember reading the rules for the Little Bighorn prior to the contest, so I don't know if those rules had that in there, but the Pinch Block definitely had it in there that you cannot apply chalk directly to the Pinch Block, and they had to be cleaned after each attempt. And I can tell you right now, we didn't do that on either Block or Little Bighorn. So now flash forward a couple days, and I have sent a video of Luke's Little Bighorn lift, which I called good, and I thought it looked better than the current world record that is owned right now by a Russian gentleman. Not sure what the name is. I do not know. But I thought Luke held it longer, and he didn't beat the down call. So I submitted the video, and I heard back from Randall Strawson that it had been overturned unanimously because he didn't hold it at the top long enough, and they also questioned the chalk. So I was like, what do you mean the chalk? So he said it can't have chalk applied to it, and it has to be cleaned every time. So then we started talking about just that. Like, I didn't try to change his mind because, obviously they'd already deliberated about it because they took like a day or two to talk about it. So I wasn't trying to change his mind. I was trying to get my mind wrapped around the need for us to constantly clean the pinch blocks off. And like the last question. 1 second. The last question was, are you going to change the records? It has chalk all over the pinch block. So, and I never heard back. So that's like the whole story right there, as far as like my experience with the chalk rules. Go ahead, James.
No, oh gosh, you should have told him it was mayonnaise on there or something. I mean, because that seems like it'd be more acceptable.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Oh gosh. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I guess it's what? I mean, it's his equipment. So if he just isn't, was he just in the mood to make rules? Like, what was the motivation? Was there any explanation as to?
Well, the only other thing that I can say is that at one point I asked him a question like, so you want us to start at zero chalk and wipe it off every single attempt? And he said, yes, wipe it off, just like the shot put in track, the something in Highland Games, and the barbell in Olympic weightlifting. And that's when I asked if he was going to reset the records or have a different records list, and I never heard back. And while they do, I know that I've seen, like, in Olympic weightlifting, they'll take like a file brush and they'll go over and clean the chalk out of the knurling on the bar. I didn't know that they cleaned it every time. I never paid that much attention, I guess. I don't know anything about Highland Games, or I never did track, so I don't know what they do. But I mean, they don't make you. I mean, we can start talking about every sport that we know. They don't make you clean off your bat after every swing or at bat. In baseball, you can keep your pine tar right on there. What other strength sports are there? I mean, I never did powerlifting either, so I don't know if they make you clean the bar on powerlifting. They certainly don't make you wash your hands after arm wrestling.
No, but you can't chalk to be fair, you can't chalk the other guy's hand. So.
Oh, yeah. You're left with whatever he has on there, right?
Yeah. But it's I don't know. Like, I guess we're going to spend time on this rule, but I have a hard time seeing a way that it's not ridiculous, other than the fact that it's his equipment and his record lists, and, if that's what he wants to do, I guess that's what he can do. But I don't see it changing grip sport. I don't see the guys who compete at NAGS events really wanting to implement these rules on any of their devices. So,
yeah. No, you make a good point there. Like, if you look at the standings of the Rolling Thunder, I don't know what everybody hit, but like guys like Tanner beat me on the Rolling Thunder. He's going to beat me whether we chalk it or not. Andrew Derniat beat me on the Rolling Thunder. He's going to beat me whether we chalk it or not. Carl Myerscough, same deal. So it's a level playing field, but I think with chalk it's a level playing field too. You're not going to see a big difference in results, I don't think. So
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I wish I had more information, but the conversation that I had kind of died at that point. So I don't know.
Okay, so
Alan, what's your take?
I'm sure. Well, go ahead.
So I actually emailed Iron Mind, asking him, because I was curious about where that stuff came from. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
I just sent this right to their actual customer service. But I said, hi, can you explain the how and why of the recent chalk decision regarding your implements? I said, I have no problem with the decision, but this subject is going to come up in a podcast I do with Jedd Johnson, and I'd like to have some facts. I apologize, James, for not throwing your name in there. This was just something I had whipped up kind of quick.
It's all right. My ego will heal from it very quickly.
But their response, and this was from a lady named Melissa Galpin. Her response was, Dear Mr. Hynek, thank you for your inquiry. The chalk rules on Iron Mind's world record implements came from a need to ensure that each competitor is lifting the same, and that's in quotations, the same piece of equipment. All of the rules for Iron Mind's world record and certification implements are designed to ensure a fair playing field and protect the lifter from any concerns about unfair advantage. We appreciate your interest. We wish you success with your podcast. Sincerely, Melissa Galpin, Iron Mind Enterprises. So that was their official response about that. So I'm kind of mixed. I don't think it's going to change anything. I think everything will actually stay equal between us. We'd see the same drop in weight. It's going to be universal. The only thing it really affects is if the records don't change, it will be almost unattainable. To see a guy hitting 100 pounds on the hub or something like that without chalk. Things like
right.
that, or even the blockbuster and stuff like that. But I'm really mixed. Personally, I guess I don't have an issue with it. Not chalking the implement. I don't know, agree, disagree. It's hard to say. It really doesn't bother me. I didn't feel affected when I heard it happen. It's just like, okay, I guess to me, in terms of grip sport, those are Iron Mind's rules, and we're kind of a separate entity. I mean, we just do things different. So it only changes things if you're literally going after their record. Otherwise, our list, it's not really the same thing. I mean, we had a hub lift over the recognized Iron Mind record, and that was tracked on our database. So it's not even really to me an apples to apples comparison when we're talking about Iron Mind's list versus ours. They're just completely different things.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah, go ahead, James. Go ahead, because you got cut off last time, buddy.
Well, a hypothetical, okay? Say you have two people, all right, and let's say they're plate pinching, for example, and they're pinching on the same plates, okay? And one person applies a little bit of chalk, and they're able to lift the plates, and then the other person walks up and goes to lift the plates with the same amount of chalk on the plates, and can't get them off the ground, but wipes a little bit of the chalk off, and then all of a sudden can lift them up even easier than the person who did it the first time. Who's got the stronger grip?
I think in that case they both got the same level grip, because I think some people can just plain chalk or grip better without chalk.
Yep.
A guy like Luke is going to need chalk on something like that because his hands sweat more. A guy like me, I may be able to do kind of like an Indian burn. I don't know a better name for that, so I hope I don't insult or make anyone upset with my use of that term. But I think if you deliberately made the situation very, very hard to grip and someone was able to be successful and someone wasn't, then the person successful has a stronger grip. Like if you literally grease them and then one guy was able to lift them and the other one didn't, then I think that is a better indicator.
I agree with that. And I'll tell you why I don't think I agree with that. Because,
sure, go ahead.
Like, let's say it's Bob Sunding and I, and we're doing one-hand pinch, okay?
Yep.
On most days, Bob is going to lift more than me on any device except for the flask. But I pinch better without chalk on a surface. And
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
because you are the dirty son of a gun who cleaned the chalk off the flask in 2016.
It cakes up and it feels awful. Yeah. So for me, the Iron Mind. It's almost like to me, Iron Mind's rules probably would benefit me more, but I still think it's ridiculous. Because it's like I think people should be able to get this. Texture shouldn't be the limiting factor. People should be able to get the texture of whatever
they want.
They're grabbing. Yeah, the way that they
Good
want
point.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like somebody in one of your comments had mentioned this too, because I was going to say this. Like I think was it Nathan Hall or Holly? I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
See, I didn't see that. Someone else kind of quoted his quote or his comment, but I actually didn't see it. So sometimes I get so many comments in a row, especially when I actually ask for comments on one of those shorter videos. I don't always see them. So you'll have to tell us what he said, because I did not see it, buddy.
Well, no, he had talked about, thinking that grip implements should be even lightly knurled or textured so that you could actually get some bite on them you know, so that there wasn't in some way it wasn't going to limit somebody. You know, and it's like, I agree with that. It's like, great example. So I'm at Cody Burns' house a couple years ago, and, you know, he's using roofing tape on his implements to try to get the weight up. And then obviously he doesn't do any record attempts or anything with the roofing tape, but the roofing tape increases the texture to the point where he can get used to that weight. So if he still takes that roofing tape off, and then he can still pinch, and we all know how much Cody can pinch, right? If he can still do that and still punch, so it's like, at what point does texture become a factor? And I've actually had this conversation with Gil Goodman before, and he disagrees with me. I think he's more in line with what Jedd had said before, that, you know, the person with the stronger grip would be able to lift as much or more on the slick surface. But I've trained with Bob for too long to know that that's not the case, that his grip is just stronger than mine in every way, but it's only that way if he can, you know, if the texture, if all things are equal in terms of texture, we're both comfortable texture-wise, he's going to blow my doors off. But if you just take, you know, an implement like the Flask and you don't put anything on it, I'm going to pull like 20 pounds more than him. And I'm sorry, that's not an indicator of grip strength. I'd have a hard time.
I see where you're coming from too. I can see that. I personally like the idea of allowing the lifter to get whatever grip they want on the implement. Like I think that's reasonable. And if that means that, like, let's say I want to chalk the Rolling Thunder really good, or have Luke chalk it for me or whatever. You know, if the other person that follows, maybe James follows me, he's got to clean that off. I don't see a problem with that. Get whatever the surface is that you like. I think that's totally reasonable too. My only problem with the whole situation is that it's almost like a smoke screen that they've put out, like to take the focus off of the constant bad calls on these lockout lifts. They created some other, like, you know, it's like a misdirection.
Like I know what you're saying. I didn't think of that at all. I didn't think of that at all.
Like there were still, dude, that's the only, there was so much great stuff about the arm lifting meet. The only negatives were that the one judge did not seem comfortable with saying no lift. And we don't need to go into any more detail than that, but lockout is an issue when the judge won't say no lift. And I don't know that that's the case. Maybe there were athletes all over the world bitching because it's their policy not to chalk anything, and, you know, they're sick and tired of seeing all this chalk on, like, the American implements. I don't know. That may be the case. Maybe Iron Mind is sick with dealing with that, and they say, heck with this, we're just going to go with clean implements. If that's the case, I mean, dude, whatever the rules are of the competition, I'm going to train that way, and I'm going to compete that way. But, like I think Alan said, there ain't no way anybody right now is going to get 100 pounds plus on the hub without chalking that thing. And the dudes that chalked it to get 100 pounds or whatever the number is on the hub, they got 100 pounds on the hub because they chalked it. If the hubs aren't getting chalked, then the hub record is more like probably 75 pounds. You know what I mean? So
could it be too, though, that you know, numbers are getting dangerously close to 100, and there's guys walking around now like you know, Rinderly was over 90 pounds on the hub this week, and Aaron Corcoran pulled over 90 last week, and Jerome Bloom, and, you know, all these guys are getting up into the 90s. Is it like, it almost feels like it's like, okay, well, let's change the rule now, you know, so that there are less people. The club, the 90-pound plus club is more exclusive, and to me, it's almost like the credit card set rule. It's like, well, now you can look at that like you guys. I think Alan had said before. There's a clear line between when they implemented the credit card, right? And it's like it's the same sort of thing. It's like, if you don't keep two separate lists, okay, now you're going to have whoever has got the acknowledged record right now. You know, and it's going to be like, well, that's going to stay for, I mean, gosh knows how long, but it's done under a different set of rules. So while you're making it a level playing field for everyone going forward, which, look, one of the reasons why I am liked in some circles and then much maligned in others in arm wrestling is because everything that I have tried to do is to make it a level playing field, from getting a more equitable strap to drug testing to everything that I did on the board of directors of the USAF. It was all about trying to create a level playing field so that everyone had the same, conditions going in. So I agree with creating a level playing field. I just don't know that this is the way to do it, A. And B, it basically says those records from the past are going to be pretty darn safe.
Yeah. Yep.
The one thing I didn't really care for with this particular change is I didn't think they went far enough with it. Didn't they stop short of saying then only use iron mine chalk if you literally want to make it a level playing field? How do you leave that one out there? Because we do know there are differences, and they stopped a little short on that, and I think that's the next thing that's going to come up. But that was the thing that I didn't particularly care for. I'm not going to throw a fit about it, but it leaves that out there in the future.
It's a good point. And while I've used a lot of chalk, I don't recall ever using iron mine chalk, but there is absolutely differences in chalk. And I don't know what constitutes the difference, but I can give you an example right now. When we first started training the Flask, I want to say in 2016 or something like that, we could not get any chalk to stick to it. We did not get any chalk to stick to it until we started using Rogue Fitness or Barbell or whatever it's called chalk that was at the gym where we were training at Average Tim's in White Sox, Pennsylvania. Finally, we started getting a chalk base on that thing, and it made all the difference in the world for our numbers to go up. Now, that chalk is not the best chalk for other lifts. Like most lifts, I prefer the Mighty Mitts chalk. But there's some days where the Mighty Mitts chalk does not perform as well as other chalks. And we have to go and use like cheapo chalk that someone bought me for my birthday like 4 years ago. And it's what I use in my general strength training classes.
I know exactly what you're saying there for some reason. I don't understand it. But I have seen the same thing.
Humidity. I think it has a lot to do with humidity.
That could be absolutely the link. Yep.
If you pay attention to the dew points on days that you pinch, if the dew point and temperature are pretty close to each other, you're going to see that chalk is going to apply much easier to pinch implements. At least that's what I've noticed, especially on days where it's a little bit more humid or damp in the winter. There tends to be a better window for when you can apply chalk. And then, of course, there's days, humid mornings, especially if there's a cold day before, where you'll start to actually see condensation form on the weights. And on those days, it's like chalk just is like glued to it. So I mean, I agree that it's some of it is knowing the chalk and knowing when to use what chalk. I mean, I know when chalk will stick to implements, but I don't know what chalk is the best. I still don't really care. I brought a bunch of this Matolia stuff over to Bob's house the other day, and Bob basically told me it was shit and to never bring it back. So
how dare he?
Well, yeah, it was my turn to bring chalk, and my son had baseball, so I had all this other stuff I had to bring, and I had to drop him off, and then it was like I forgot the chalk, and I was like, damn. So I stopped at this rock climbing gym, and they didn't have the Black Diamond stuff that he likes, but they had this Matolia stuff, and I was like, well, it's a big bag of chalk. It's not that expensive. And then I brought it over, and, and they looked a gift horse in the mouth, basically. So,
dude, you know what? One of my pet peeves, I know someone will want to hear this. Probably most people won't. But when you take your chalk out of, like, one of those crinkly, loud plastic bags, and you, like, little pinches, and you got to, like, crinkle, 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 every time you need a little bit more chalk, that is the most annoying thing that I have ever heard. So stop doing it.
So you probably have the same. Here's the thing that I can't stand: when people eat crunchy shit right next to me.
Crunchy shit, yeah.
I freaking hate it. Like Cheeto, you name it.
anything crunchy in public is bad unless it's preceded by crispy. Reese's Crispy Crunchy. Okay?
Well, yeah. I was like sort of in a bad mood for a second, then you put that there, so yeah, that just went away. I lost my momentum.
Dude, listen, my family and I were just at Hershey Chocolate World. Best deal ever on Crispy Crunchy bars, man. 4 for $5, king size versions. I'm kicking myself in the ass right now because I only bought 4. I can't even believe I did that to myself. It's ridiculous. 4 for $5. The best I've ever seen is 2 for $3. So if you do your math, I'm pretty sure 4 for $5 is better than 2 for $3.
That is a better deal. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
You guys both have issues with misophonia, which is having an issue with people who either like chew loudly or crunch or crinkly noises and stuff like that.
It's not just a small issue, man. It's huge for me.
No, it's
I freaking hate it.
James, what is it called when people don't like people that clean off the implements on the, especially flask? Is it like clean flaskophobia?
Well,
is there a name for that?
My guess is it would be some sort of it would be whatever's on the opposite spectrum of obsessive compulsive disorder. So because you have a problem with things being clean, evidently.
Yeah.
But I don't know, guys, about this chalk thing. Like, I mean, I saw some pretty good comments and on what you had said, Jedd, on your video from earlier this week.
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, that's the thing that I have a concern with. It's like, where's it going to go, and are people going to start doing the same thing at their contests with, whatever it is, their crushers and, flasks and euros and, whatever. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, dude. I mean, I don't. How do I word this? Like, I don't want to come off like, oh, it's your problem if you can't get chalk to stick to the device. Like, that's not the case. Like, some devices are going to take chalk better. The environment's going to have something to do with it. Like, people have been green with envy over my Euro for about 15 years now. So the first time we trained on it, we put water on our hands, and we trained on it because it was giving us a better grip. I felt like such an asshole for doing that the next time we trained, I turned the plates around, and we never did that again. And all we did was just chalk and use bare hands and stuff like that. If you look at the inside of the plates of my Euro, they are bare, clean, except for where we put our hands that day with water. That's like the only place that there's any seasoning.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest of it has been because I've heard of people putting like salt water on their implements and taking all kinds of weird measures to try to get it to season better. I admittedly left a blob.
Does it make it rust?
Apparently, it makes it rust. It makes it pit.
Okay.
I've heard of a few people doing that. I've never done that. But the environment that my equipment sits in is definitely different from the environment that other people's stuff sits in. So, I bought the little Bighorn one time. I don't know if I bought it from Iron Mind or if someone else sold it because I have bought a lot of other people's stuff when it's been a better deal. I didn't even use it for I don't know how long. And when I finally used it, it was no longer silver. It was brown. And it just hung on a hook in my garage for like a year. So, I mean, my garage that I lifted in for so long it was the space for the building is dug out of the ground. Like there's a hill on each side. So there's natural moisture at that level where the house is. So it's going to be more moist in that area. People that live in drier climates probably don't see the type of seasoning that takes place on their implements that takes place on mine. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't want to sound like that I don't understand the differences between environments and how the equipment reacts to it. But in a piece of equipment such as Iron Mine Rolling Thunder, Blockbuster, Hub, they all have a distinctive surface to them, which is different, and it resists actual seasoning. So, we really got to keep in mind that with those implements, it doesn't matter where those implements are at. For the most part, that shouldn't create any individual differences like bare steel would. So, at the other end of the spectrum is like with the arm assassin stuff that Luke puts out. He'll tell you exactly what the spray is that he uses, and like if you wanna, if it feels like the paint's coming off, then spray it with this truck bed liner paint.
Yeah, the
and
liner.
yeah. So it's just like what is the approach of the individual company? What is the approach of the lifter, the organization, et cetera, and it's basically, the way I look at it is just like find out what's going to go on at that competition, what they're going to be requiring, and train that way. Be ready for that, so there's no surprises.
Sure. No, I mean, I agree with that. I just don't know if I agree with adding a rule that you have to clean an implement in between, and I don't know. I mean, look, and I maybe I'm sounding hypocritical here if I've said before, that it's better to, reduce subjectivity, and maybe chalk adds subjectivity. I don't think it does. I think it makes it more objective if you can get the surface that, your skin adheres to better. I mean, that's my point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I could see it either way. I'm not a fan of the rule. I'll just put it that way. I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But
right. So what say you at the end, Alan? James and I have given our viewpoints, and we're certainly not going to solve any, issues of grip world peace with this podcast episode. But no, what's your thoughts?
I don't have an issue with it personally. I guess I think that's fine. That's the decision they wanted to make. Really indifferent with it. I'm not bothered by it. The one thing with the rule changes we've seen from Iron Mind, I guess, is they were kind of the first to come along and do any of this stuff, right? They were the pioneers with all these grip implements, and they didn't have the luxury that a lot of other companies really had. Somebody had to start, and somebody's going to have it wrong too. I mean, it just stands to reason that what you start out with, things are going to evolve. They didn't know what the future was going to bring. And it's easy to kind of look back at 20-year-old stuff and say, oh, geez, you should have done this different and this different. And they couldn't do that. So they're trying to make it right now, and maybe it's not ideal. But, it's the way of going about it. Like with the, how things progress to the credit card set and all this stuff. You don't know that people are going to find ways around things when you first set the rules. And, different grips on stuff. And, I guess that's my thought. They're kind of trying to make it right, and I know it sucks for people that chasing after records, but I guess I think it kind of keeps things the same in the end. I mean, you pull 100 pounds on it, like you use that analogy, Jedd. The 100 pounds with chalk, 75 without it. It's a level thing. I would like to see a distinction in the list, but I don't know. I guess it really doesn't bother me. I guess they set the rules, and then once again too, it's their rule, and it's not even grip sports rule. I mean, we use a different thing entirely. So unless you're chasing after Iron Mine stuff, I don't know how it even really hits us on that end of it.
Yeah, and really the promoter of any competition, like they could run let's say they run Rolling Thunder, and they run Axle. I mean, they could run the Rolling Thunder the way that Iron Mine demands it, and then they could run the Axle the way that they want to. There's nothing wrong with that. It's everybody's lifting on the same. It's just I'm going to assume that it's going to disqualify the results from that competition for being considered on the records list and stuff. So if someone comes up and pulls 550 on the Axle, they're kind of screwed. But I will say this, dude. I don't know this. It's hard to tell from video, right? But if you guys follow Better on Instagram, he just ran a contest in Dubai yesterday, or it might have been actually 2 days ago now, due to the time differences. But Dude, it looked to me like there was some chalk on some of those implements. So Randall Strawson was right there. He was there at that meet. So it looked like they didn't always wipe the implements off. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not.
I hadn't had a chance to see any of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. For some reason, usually better stuff comes up in my feed, but I didn't see it.
Yeah. Well, take a look. Maybe go on his account and see what you think. To me, it looked like they weren't wiped off. I could be wrong. I didn't ask better, but I don't know. Maybe we can log on tomorrow morning on the Ironmind site and say, we rethought it, and we're going to go back to the old rules. No problem. So I don't know, but I don't know, guys. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, they actually see what everybody else thinks. I know. I don't know if things got toned down on the grip cord because people were worried that it might take off and get shut down or whatever. So we'll see what comes about in the comment section here. But I'm real anxious to see what everybody else is thinking about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Me too. Yeah. Be nice to see.
Did you guys follow what I was saying? Did you follow what I was saying? What my thoughts were at all? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It makes total sense.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if that came out the way I had it in my head. If it flew out that way in the words or not. So hard to say sometimes.
Right. No.
Okay.
Yep. Sure.
All right.
Not sure if you guys had a subject change, but did you guys happen to get any of the results from Nigel Blackburn's event? Because we didn't have a chance of talking about it last week, and I didn't know if anyone got results from that.
We didn't. I hadn't even seen I hadn't seen anything about that actually.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't either. I hadn't seen any videos from it or anything, so that's why I was curious if there were any results posted.
I'll tell you what I can do is I can hit Nigel up and have him send them to me, and we can go over them. I can share them with you guys and go over them next week. Yeah. Or if not next week, then sometime soon. Yeah.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think we talked about a lot of stuff regarding that subject today. Probably, definitely more than I was anticipating. We came at it from several different angles, and I liked what you guys said, so I appreciate you discussing it in that manner. I don't think it's anything to get crazy about. I'm not sure that anybody really has. I think some people might be upset about it if they're really close to the record, but I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see how it turns out. So,
right.
But thanks for discussing it, guys. It was good call.
For sure. Quick feet shot out or no?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, can I go first? All right. Yeah, so you guys probably saw this. Yves Revel went for 242.5 pounds on the Barrel Strength Systems stirrup. That was a new world record.
Nice.
Yeah, Mike Rinderly had held a half of a York 130 Legacy for 24 seconds. That's a big blob to be holding for that long. Rich Williams back over 540 on the axle after his deep vein thrombosis. So he looks like he's recovering pretty well. Devin Hoover had his first number 3 close with a gripper that was rated by Canon at 146. So congratulations to Devin. Yeah. Jerome Bloom went 5 seconds with 85 pounds on the hub and with a hold. He had chalk.
He's always getting better, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
We never see the valleys. It's always the peaks with him. Yeah.
but Alan he used chalk. So let's be honest.
Sure.
So, and then Joe Sullivan. It's gotten ridiculous how light a 20-pound sledgehammer looks in his hand. So I just wanted, if you guys haven't seen the video of him repping out that 20-pound sledgehammer, it is doing sledge levers. It's amazing. It's just amazing stuff. So
yeah, I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody that's had that kind of prowess on a 20-pound sledge in like all my years of grip. As far as like actual grip sport athletes, I can't think of anybody.
Nope, me neither. Just amazing stuff.
Isn't that what got him started in some of this, with some of that levering? Was that his approach in the grip?
That and I think the stacker, the old stacker.
Yeah, I do remember the stacker videos. Yeah, from way back when he started. Yep, training with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So, did you guys have any feats you wanted to mention?
Yeah, here's one. Here's one from Luke. I don't know if this came out or not, but so he was opening up his tailgate and like severely strained his thumb, actually subluxed it, and it popped back into joint like instantly.
Oh.
But I saw a picture of it. It was all swollen up, looked like it had some bruises on it. Next day he comes down to the gym, this is Thursday, and proceeds to almost complete a legal lift of 121 pounds on the flask with the injured hand.
Crazy.
So
stuff.
just like that may be like, that's probably in the top 5 of biggest flask lifts ever.
Yeah. Wow.
So with an injured thumb. Yeah. So no injury your thumb. Yes. No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to, bro. You can't do that because it will give you an advantage. You can't do it. That's the takeaway. But that's it for me. I'm sure there was lots of other good stuff. I did see the Devin Hoover thing. The other stuff I didn't see, not even Rindo's hold. That sounds amazing. What about you, Alan?
No, I caught a decent it was a blockbuster lift from Gil Goodman within the last couple of days. Looked like he's getting close to about 100 pounds on that sucker. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Starting to see a lot more out of him again. He'd kind of dried up for a while, hadn't heard much, and didn't know what he was really doing or not. And, he's coming right back. Lots of good lifts out of him. So. Hey, so, Jedd, you gearing up for this whole Pennsylvania-Texas rivalry thing that I've been reading about?
Not really. Like, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like,
okay.
I think that's a lot of talk from one person, and the other people on that team don't really care. And
sure.
I mean, it started out like 3-on-3 or something like that. Now it's 7-on. I mean, we don't even have we have 2 people in Pennsylvania, dude. So it can't be Texas versus Pennsylvania. We got to bring Rindo up from Maryland. We got to bring Joe down from Syracuse. Storm's a maybe, if anything, because he no-showed Cupid's Nightmare. So Frank doesn't even train grip. So we're going to have a hard time filling the team, and we don't have a hype man.
What about Texas versus Jedd, Luke, and the Wyalusing Fire Department? Because it sounds like that's where you got most of your grip guys.
Dude, we're gonna have to fill out the team with some firefighters. I think there's just no way around it. I mean, I don't know how this became like. I don't even know how this became a thing, dude. I'm not sure. I'm driving down to the state tournament to watch one of my wrestlers compete yesterday, and the next thing I know, we're having a virtual competition. It's going to be a pay-per-view event. Vince McMahon is involved. I don't know how this all happened. I really don't.
Yeah, I only caught a couple of glimpses of it. Just sort of shot up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to gauge some of that stuff that happens on the grip board, because sometimes it looks like some dudes are like seriously pissed off at each other, and then the next second around they're like, I don't know, almost friends. So I really don't know, especially like between you and Tommy. I have no friggin' idea what's going on there sometimes.
Dude, I have I have no clue. I don't even know, and I'm one of those principals that you just mentioned. The whole thing is a big mystery to me. It's a mystery.
Well,
I found out yesterday that I was begging for a second attempt on the inch dumbbell carries at the Rogue Record Breakers. I don't know when that happened. It must have been when either I was asleep or Tommy Jennings was asleep, because that shit never fucking happened. So But according to him, multiple people told him, so I guess that means it's true. So I have no idea, Alan. You have just as much knowledge of this situation as I do. So,
Sure. Okay.
Well, I have an idea. Instead of taking on Pennsylvania, they could come out to Charlotte and take on the pickup artists, and we'll all get together and share some laughs and some drinks, and then go eat burritos. So it won't be competitive or anything. We'll just we'll just do that.
In my opinion, if we're going to do this, it's got to be all on the same implements in the same place. Pony up, spend some money, go to a locale where we're using all the same implements, because otherwise it's just going to be, well, yours is better than mine, and you had a different gripper, and blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't make any sense to even talk about it, because it's not going to mean anything if it does go down. So, and if it's going to be, why not have the pickup artists there? We might as well have 3 different teams. You guys actually have a team. We have a bunch of people that trains together sometimes and competes together often. So I don't even know. But guys, I gotta tag out. I'll leave the rest of the show to you, Alan, if you want to take it away, or for anything else. But I got to go in. I guess we're gonna go look at furniture, guys. I didn't know about this, but I guess on the way back we're gonna look at some furniture. So I'll let you guys know how it all turns out. All right?
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Take care.
Yep. Talk to you later. All right. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up there then, unless you had anything else, James.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Well, it was fun. I guess that's the latest of This Week in Grip, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to ring the notification bell, like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. I really want to hear everybody's thoughts about this chalk issue. And we'll be back next week with another one. We'll talk to you later.